This week on Garry Talks, I'm joined by Maeve McGrath, Director of Programming for the Galway Film Fleadh, one of Ireland's most beloved and influential film festivals. In this special episode, Maeve takes us through an in-depth day-by-day preview of this year's exciting lineup, from world premieres and Irish debuts to powerful documentaries and international gems. If you're planning to attend the 37th Galway Film Fleadh this week, this deep dive has you covered. So lights, camera, action. This is a GK Media podcast.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Maeve, you're very welcome to GK Media Studios. An exciting week ahead with the Galway Film Fleadh.
Yes, so great to be back, Garry, as well. It's been a while since we did the last one together, and that went all over the world. People often said to me, I came to Fleadh because I heard that. So that's really, really nice. Yes, we are going into the 37th edition of the Galway Film Fleadh, so it's busy. It's busy at the moment. We have just a bumper year of cinema. You know, we've talked about it. It's insane.
48 Irish premieres.
48 Irish premieres, 30 odd world premieres, 11 international European premieres, and 45 Irish films in the programme, which just the last time we spoke, it was 30 odd. You know, a couple of years ago, it was 32 last year. So this is a massive increase. And 11 of those are Irish language, which is boom, we're delighted with that. That's a real achievement in terms of, the Irish language film being made, Irish language film being funded, and the importance of it within the programme as well. So that's just brilliant. We're very excited for that. And again, not only that, they're selling out as well. So that's brilliant.
This is where I have to slap myself on the wrist, because I was always one of those people who'd arrive up to the Town Hall Theatre or the Pálás on the day to get a ticket. And that's why this episode is going out today before the Fleadh kicks off tomorrow night, is to give people as much advance notice as possible. So we're going to go through the programme day by day. What often happens down the road is people listen back to this episode when things have gone on commercial release to hear about the content of what's being screened, whatever. But basically the core message here today is, if there's anything that grabs your attention, today is the day to book your ticket, not the day, which 100%. Is where I've gotten caught so many times.
100%. And go buy a bundle. You know, you'll get a discount if you buy a 5-ticket bundle. And there's such a selection of films out there from like 11 in the morning or 9:30 sometimes for the shorts, that there's something you can watch right up until 10:30 at night, you know, and you'll be leaving the cinema at 12 o'clock, you know, it's in some cases. But yes, please book early, assuming that a ticket will be there. It won't be, and we will be operating wait lists on the day at the venue. You know, you can come along, but there's absolutely no guarantee that somebody will get back their ticket. They didn't do it for Kneecap, as you can remember. We know that.
And I don't know, am I allowed to say, but the Galway Film Fleadh website crashed at 6 p.m. the night of the launch because there was such traffic. People knew tickets went on sale at 6 p.m. and the site crashed with the amount of traffic.
I know. The demand was huge. And we've seen that over the years. Past lives was similar. People were standing on the steps of the Town Hall Theatre looking to buy tickets. And similarly, you know, we knew that there was a lot of people wanted to buy. A lot of them had sold out. We knew that already. We had early releases, which we really just want to get out there and get the audience buying tickets and letting them know what's in the programme. And yes, there was a moment there where we were like, get up. Poor Brian was working really hard to get things back up online. And meanwhile, the phones were ringing over in Town Hall Theatre and people were running and getting tickets. But we tried to get as many tickets to as many people as possible. We know there are people disappointed. We know there'll be people turning up in the night hoping to get tickets for some screenings, and hopefully we'll get you in. But again, no promises.
And it's funny, you mentioned Kneecap there. I mean, that kicked off last year's Galway Film Fleadh, and what a year it has been for them. And this is the thing, like quite a few of us knew about Kneecap at the time. I think to the level now that they're known, they're nearly household names, but it's finding these gems as well before they explode into the market.
And it's really, you know, obviously I would have known Kneecap, I'd have attended a lot of their gigs, and then the film came along. We were like, amazing, let's get this for the Fleadh, and we were lucky to screen it. And there has been certainly a rise in, you know, who knows them now across the world, obviously. And so I'm really delighted with their success, and that their belief, and they believe in, you know, what they say and what they promote. And also they promote the Irish language. And they promote speaking the Irish language, whatever confidence you have in your ability, they're all about that, use that. And even when they came down, I'd be chatting to them and, and I would always say that. But it was great to be able to have that opportunity to speak Irish with them and chat to them and talk about the importance of the Irish language to them. So, they've had an amazing year since, and that film's gone everywhere, like all the way almost to the Oscars, as we know. And, fair dues to them. And let's see what happens next with them now.
Absolutely. Before we kick off going through the programme day by day, looking back over all the various film festivals you would have travelled to over the past 12 months, all the submissions coming into you, was there anything in particular that stood out or that you've noticed in terms of themes or genres of content that's being produced now?
Family has become really important to people. That's what I've seen, and I've noticed over the last few years, so many films about family members, about, that we're talking now, not just documentaries, narratives based around family. I think in recent years, everything that's happened over from the pandemic all the way through, people have got closer potentially to family or further away from them as it is, because some of them are, it's not always a happy story, but definitely themes around the family and being near your family or being far away from your family. But also the land is something that's really interesting that's starting to come through. People downsizing, or people going back to the land, or people, finding out they're ill and then, returning to the land, or, already being part of the land and the land around us, and being aware of who we are and our situation, and, being at peace with ourselves. A Cowboy would be an example of that. And those kind of themes we've really seen through. Obviously, human rights and the Defender Strand is never going to stop producing films for us, because we live in a world that's in conflict. So, whether it's films to do, about migrants, whether it's films about war, whether it's films about people defending other people, that theme is never going away, obviously, for the world that we live in.
Yeah, sadly. And then last thing before we kick off, again, just a big shout out to all the sponsors. We're not going to name them because we probably missed someone, but they make an awful difference for the Film Fleadh's success.
I always say to people, get a copy of our programme. And I know we've this big, massive A4 programme with, I think we were counting last night, 100 odd pages on it. But it is actually great. We do use post-consumer paper, and it's really important the paths we go down when we print this. But if you can grab a copy of it, it's got all the information in there, but it also has our sponsors, our funders, our sponsors, our gold friends, our friends. Without them, the Fleadh would not be here, and I really need to reiterate that. That's really important. They support us, and we would love you, in turn, to use those sponsors, whether it's a bar, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a large organisation, to understand that this is why we're here, is because of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you go through the programme of the Fleadh as well, you'll see all the different strands like Defender, New Dimensions, Peripheral Visions, Architecture on Film. And you'll also get to see the Bingham Ray New Talent Award nominees.
Exciting.
And there's some really, really great people in there who I know personally as well. So I'm delighted for them, and they're buzzing. Like, for me, they are a huge success in my eyes. But for them to be nominated in this category, in this Bingham Ray Award, they're really, really buzzing. They're really, really excited.
Of course. And it's a great thing, because we're recognising your art, whatever that is, whether you're an actor, director, cinematographer, whoever you are, producer, writer, we're recognising what you've brought to your film or films, because some people are nominated because of their work on several films. And obviously Bingham Ray being a big part of the Fleadh, this is a very important nomination, and best of luck to them all at the weekend. It'll be exciting.
So tomorrow night, 7 p.m, the Galway Film Fleadh officially kicks off at the Town Hall Theatre with the premiere.
The Irish premiere, just out of Tribeca.
Of Recreation.
Yes. So, yes, we know this is a controversial one, definitely. And people will have very mixed feelings, and very, a lot of people will be dying to see this. A lot of people won't want to see this. It's sold out. So that'll give you an idea of the incredible buzz around it. It's come out of Tribeca, as I said, and which was really well received over there. And of course, as most Irish people will know the story of Sophie Toscan de Plantier, and the very, very sad murder in 1996. And it's directed by Jim Sheridan and David Merriman, produced by Tina O'Reilly, and with a big, big cast, Vicky Creeps, Aidan Gill and Colin Meaney in that. And there is a sense, obviously we know the case, Ian Bailey's died, recently, and I just think that there is, for Irish people, we know this story. Anyone from Ireland really will have heard about this, whether it's the podcasts that have been happening recently or the various streaming series that have been on. So this is a new look at it, I guess. It's in the courtroom, very much based on the 12 Angry Men type of genre. And it is a kind of dissemination of the court case, and with Jim Sheridan in the lead as the head of the jury, and they work their way through to the end of the film, and decisions are made. And I think the Irish audience will have a very fresh take on this. I think probably going into the Tribeca market, they may have not heard about it before. They would be presented with this, but we know this story. We know what happened, and it's a live case, and so. You know, I think it will have mixed emotions for people, and it is important. We talked about this earlier. It's very important that we screen films, even if not everybody agrees with them, and lots of people do. And so it's important for us to get those films out there and see what people think. And, you know, for the opening night audience, I think it's going to be a very special screening.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and sold out.
Yeah. So...
Unfortunately, sold out for those who need tickets.
So we won't spend too much time, I guess, really on what is sold out, because that's only too much of a tease for people.
It really is.
But the screenings start bright and early then, Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock in the Pálás. Yeah. So we got a nod to this as well. The Pálás Cinema, maybe for people outside of Galway who don't know, it was an art house cinema, opened up a number of years ago. It was run by Element Pictures, who have the Lighthouse Cinema in Dublin as well, which has had a huge number of premieres over the years. And sadly, the doors closed on the Pálás earlier this year because it just wasn't financially viable for Element Pictures to keep the doors open. And everyone was wondering what's going to happen with the Fleadh, because the Film Fleadh has been availing of the facilities at the Pálás for a number of years, but you've managed, I don't know how.
Magic.
You've managed to get the doors back open for the week.
Yes. Miriam worked very hard with the council and with our board to at least have us in this year, because obviously it came as a massive shock to us at the beginning of the year. We didn't know, and it was, well, that's our venue as well. We use that. We obviously use Town Hall, but, you know, you can only do one screening at a time. We have 3 cinemas on the go in Pálás. And so there was a conversation with the Galway City Council, and they very gracefully, you know, agreed that we would be able to open it. And as you can see, we've taken advantage of that. Every cinema's full. We're doing, you know, with big cinema screenings, all the big films that we can get in there. And there's a lot, you know, going in there. It's our biggest venue in terms of, you know, get 3 going at the same time. So we're really grateful to have it this year. It's great.
So what can we look forward to on Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning is just lovely. It's great. You know, we're like, you've had a big night the night before, you know. We want you to have a relaxing morning. So the generation jury will kick off straight away. So our generation jury is our young people's jury, and they come in, they're going to review 6 to 8 films over the course of the week. They come in, they watch them all. I think there's 11 on the jury at the moment. We also have a young critics who come in.
Brilliant.
It's fantastic, and they're brilliant. And the generation obviously has its own Generation Fleadh in October, but, you know, we have them as part of Big Fleadh, as we say as well. We have Small Generation as part of Big Fleadh. They come in, they watch them. Girls on Wire, which big film came out of the world premiere at Berlin. Obviously, that's going to be there. Brilliant film from China. And they're going to start with that straight away, and then they're going straight on to watch Olmo afterwards, which is an insane film. It was in Berlin as well. Absolutely mad. Really lovely. Here we are back to the family story again as well. But, you know, I can't sell you a ticket to Agatha's Almanac anymore. It's gone. People have this beautiful film. It was the winner of the Best Canadian Feature Documentary at Hot Docs. And it's about this wonderful woman, 90-year-old woman, who forages and collects seeds on her farm. And, you know, we watch these films and go, oh my God, that's so beautiful. I don't care if 10 people come and see this. It means 10 people have seen this film. It's sold out already. Gone. So forget about it. It's there. There may be returns in the morning. We're getting emails about it. So, you know, do try and come along and see if you can get a seat. I can't guarantee that. But also over on Screen 1, we have Loch, A Bright Vision, which is a beautiful, beautiful film. The clarity.
Can I just say though as well, with respect to Agatha's Almanac, like a documentary on a Wednesday morning at 11:30.
Incredible.
Being sold out.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks even now.
I know.
Before the Film Fleadh, it's just unbelievable.
It's great, isn't it?
Fantastic.
And if you tell me there's not a place for cultural cinema, there is,
Yeah.
and, this is a film that you might not see in your normal multiplex kind of place. And here you go, it's sold out. So there is that place. People want to see films that this is back to the land, and it's back to, for me, a lot of it was I wanted to see our demographic. We've a very wide demographic of people who've been going for 37 years to the Fleadh, people who are just coming in the generation people, and they want to see themselves on screen. They want to see people like themselves on screen, and this is an older person on screen, very, very important to us. Similarly with Loch Gréine as well, which is going to be on over in +1 at the same time, and it's a film about the Gréine Valley, and it's just lovely. It's really, really nice. It's heartwarming. It's people talking about the Gréine Valley and what it means. Obviously, Brian Merriman had the poem Cortan Van Iha, which is all about the shores of Loch Gréine. That's gorgeous. If you just want to come in and relax and watch this beautiful film and people talking, another documentary, people talking about a place that they love so much, that's the film for you. Great, let's start. 57 minutes long. I love a film like that, just enough. And Martina, the director, will be there, to have a chat afterwards, which is great. We always like to do post-show discussion if a director is there. We do ask them if they're not there to record a little 30-second clip, and we'll play that before the film. So if somebody's far, far away at another festival, they'll record a 30-second clip and we'll get that up beforehand. But if they can be there, they do a little intro, and then we do a post-show discussion so the audience, can hear about the film from the person that made it. And then the afternoon goes well off into, you have a Glór Chai Brazil, which we've a brilliant architecture on the film Strand. And I started that when I came into the Fleadh because I've always watched architecture films. Yeah. I've always seen them. And when I came to Galway, I said to Miriam, I would really love to do this. I'd love to do an architecture on film Strand. And a lot of people said, will there be enough? I said, there's loads of films. And I think at least 3 of them, if I remember, are Irish this year, which is really lovely. And this is a really gorgeous film. The team will be there for that as well. And it's all about this island. It talks about the work of, architects Peter Carl, Mary Lahine, Peter Cody, people like that. Really beautiful and a great start to the architecture film early in the week.
Fantastic. And again, the thing about going to these screenings is, yes, you do get the escapism, but you're also getting to see content produced from all over the world, when really I'd say 95% of what we watch, whether it's at home on a streaming service or in a multi-screen cinema, is very much American or British content.
Yeah, and we see a lot of Marvel and all of those things, and there's a massive audience for that. And I think it's really nice. Actually, we're putting out a press release at some stage about the amount of independent US cinema we have in the Fleadh this year. So it's a real kind of comparison to the, as you say, the big American films, and then these gorgeous independent, US films funded by usually the people making them. And just, off the top of my head, we have Adult Children, Battersea, Omaha, which, out at Sundance, came out at Sundance this year. Just lovely, lovely. I mean, Adult Children's nearly sold out, so if you want a ticket for that, you'll have to run. But it just shows that people want to see that kind of content as well. The Ladybirds of old, people want to see that type of film, which is great. We're excited about it.
It will be interesting to see what comes out of America as well over the next couple of years, because when I was over in Berlin there in February, I was speaking to quite a few American producers, and what they were saying is there's no money for them now. So they're trying to do a lot of productions with European
co-productions,
and very much not rely on the old system. And I think there could be this huge wave of independent film that we would have seen maybe in the 60s and 70s coming back again
great.
From America. Yeah.
I think we've over 10, 11, 12 with like folk tales as well as in there, which is just gorgeous. And we'll come to that, but they're just great, different US films, and they're not about the current difficulties, let's call it, over there. Again, they come back to family and young people and stories about helping others out. Trying to remember now what all of them are about. And like Battersea is about brother and sister come together after mum dies. And so they're stories about real human beings, not the superhero, which is kind of nice. It takes me back to the 90s.
100%. I can't do the superhero movies anymore. No. And I think maybe it's just an age thing, but they don't do it for me. Talk to me about the screening that takes place at 2:00 in the Town Hall Theatre this Wednesday. Yeah,
so we always work with the IFI. We work with them, obviously, for lots of different things, but always for Big Fleadh, we do a screening with them. And this year it's going to be Cinegael Paradiso, Robert Quinn's Cinegael Paradiso, which, it's actually in the IFI. It's been in the IFI last week. and Robert will be there, and it's about the life of Bob, Bob Quinn, who we know, obviously prolific filmmaker. And it's really, really nice because it's about the community, the cultural community in Galway, the film community in Galway and that, and the Irish film industry as well, obviously. But it's really, really lovely. And just before that, we're going to screen the Galway Film Society at 60, which is that short film that was made about, the Galway Film Society at 60 years old, which is massive feat, 60 years, it's fantastic. So that'll be lovely, the two to go together. But actually, after that as well, because those two slots, we're definitely looking at, people who are homegrown people. We have Cast of Shadows, which is a great film. The director's coming for that, Sammy's coming for that, about the filmmaker Robert Flaherty, of course, Man of Arran, as we know, Nanook of the North, Louisiana Story, all of those. It's about the woman behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughters behind him. And it's more about, Frances Hubbard Flaherty herself, who was the driving force behind him. And he finds archive footage and all of this information. We've done a deal on this. So if you come and see both, it's €15 for the two.
Wow. Because I've seen Cast of Shadows now, and it's brilliant.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Again, it is very much about family.
Isn't it?
And it's funny how he, as part of the lineage of the Flaherty family, is a filmmaker himself, telling the story of his well-known grandfather and everything like that. And I actually never knew where Robert Flaherty's influence came from with the Native Americans. I think was it Curtis who was involved in that, and how that influenced him to then do Nanook of the North and Man of Arran, which was a big famous one.
And I think it's important from a cinephile level, obviously, for anybody who's interested in film, from a feminist perspective as well, about the woman behind the man doing the work. It's really, really important. But I think also from a community audience, people who know the filmmaker or know the film Man of Arran. It's a great film. We were really excited. It's been to, really important festivals with IFFR when I was out there in February. And
that element of legacy within a family as well. And the importance of keeping this art, this culture,
absolutely,
the story alive. I think anyone who loves film, I think you'll see what is so important about film by watching a documentary like this.
Absolutely. And Sammy, as I said, he's flying in for one night, which is great. And
so does he live in Finland?
He's in Finland, but he's actually in London, which is great. So we've been able, because that film, it is really been picked up by the festivals. People really love it. So if you want to come to Cinegael, Paradiso and that, one after the other in Town Hall, you can get a bundle and the Town Hall box office. Actually, I think if you dropped 2 tickets into your basket online, it'll automatically come up for you. And I think that's a lovely afternoon of film, because I can't let you go to Love Lane United because it's sold out. Because that's a debut. And
brilliant.
They've done a brilliant job. Now, if you want to see somebody do a marketing campaign for a film and you're thinking, how do I market my get online and go on Instagram and find Love Lane United, because Jack Thornton and his team, who's a director, and I don't know who their marketing person is, but my God, they've done a great job. It's a brilliant film, really funny, debut for Jack, and it's sad as well in places as well, but it's about this Sunday League team which comes out of, and I love football as well, of course, but it's the only football film in the Fleadh this year, but it's really all about a relationship that's going downhill, but so is the Sunday League team is going downhill at the same time. So it's life imitating art, so to speak. But that's sold out. And, it makes me so happy, because we always say to the filmmakers, now, come on, here you go. Here's all the stuff you need from us. Here's we've got you on the website. We've got you on our socials. We've got you here. Use the hashtag Film Fleadh, use all this.
But there has to be a sense of ownership.
Absolutely. You have to take it. We'll sell tickets for you. Of course we will. And we'll do all the PR as well. But you need to go out there and get that done. That was sold within 2 days.
Right. Because this has been an ongoing discussion between ourselves and Screen Ireland, because we would support film companies with EPKs and so on. And Screen Ireland does have a budget there to support people with publicity and marketing for the film. And it's... I've always had this argument of people put all their money into the manufacturing of a product, but then they use up all the funds, so they've no way of actually getting the word out there that they've created this product. And this is the same thing which happens with film. And there is support out there. There is expertise. It's great to see it to be done in that manner. And it working. And, they've said we're going to sell as many tickets as possible. And while we'll be going after others saying, your film's not selling, you got to get, they've done it already. They've done the trick, and it's brilliant. And what do you think worked for them in terms of the PR?
I just think that they did everything right. They had a little snappy video. They had a link at the top of the video, like an actual proper link that took you to the booking link. So we're always saying to people, don't announce your film until the launch, because then you have a ticket that's on sale, unless we obviously do early release. Yeah. Because if you announce it, you don't have a ticket to sell to buy, there's no ticket link for you, and so you can't sell your tickets, and if you can't sell your tickets, you've just used up some of your publicity. And agents will tell you, the sales agents and distributors will say they'll hold stuff for each level. You're not going to throw it all out there. And so we meet various stage of filmmakers along the way. We meet emerging filmmakers, very, very prolific, oiled filmmakers, and filmmakers kind of at the end of their careers, they know exactly what they're doing, they know exactly how to do it, and they have big companies around them. And I think it's sometimes harder for the emerging filmmaker to find a place for themselves, but they're using digital media in a brilliant way, and they're using social media platforms, and they're using their website. They sold out great. And I actually keep I must text Jack and tell him how well he's done, because it is great to see that that they have this lovely slot +1 and they've sold it out, which is brilliant.
Fantastic.
I know.
I want to give a shout out to a film that is screening in Pálás 3 pretty much the same time, that Wednesday afternoon, 3:30, The Captain. And it stars Patrick Bergin, but it stars this lady as well, Alina. I'm not going to try and pronounce her surname. I think it's
Alina's fantastic.
She's unreal. She's such
brilliant.
a good actor.
And it's got and again, this is, great work coming out, independent film. And like you say, Patrick's in 2 films, of course, this year, The Flies and Sunflowers as well, which is also sold out. And The Captain is lovely. And it's in the Defender category because, and you'll see that when you watch it, because, towards the end of the film, he becomes that person. She starts out as the caregiver, and you'll see what happens then towards the end of the film. But, it's lovely. It's come from the UK. It's 80 minutes, really nice length. I think they've pitched it really well the whole way through. We see this angry man who suddenly, comes out of himself and realises that he can't have that love. And she's in her own struggles, but she's his caregiver. And tones of Loch off it, I would say, very much so. But it's a great film. If you want a bit of independent UK cinema.
And there's a good few laughs in it as well.
There is. And a
nice,
really
movie.
Lovely ending. Yeah. It's an ending that wraps it up and you're going, yeah, that's great, It's lovely.
What about moving into the evening time on Wednesday? Is there anything we should look out for in particular?
Yeah, I mean, when I watched Soft Leaves, which is evening, if you say 5 o'clock, Soft Leaves, I remember when it came into us and I was just like, because I went to IFF4 this year, I went to Rotterdam, because we obviously do Rotterdam, we do Berlin, and just the films that I saw in Rotterdam this year, again, coming back to family, they were just beautiful, and a lot of slow cinema and really gorgeous ones. Soft Leaves was really gorgeous. It's a Belgian film, but it's this girl and she finds herself left on her own when her dad goes into a coma and the family has to come back. So her mother comes back from Japan. It's just really, really beautiful. Our Generation jury will be there.
I saw the trailer for this.
It's lovely.
I turned to my colleague Dylan afterwards and I said, that is going to be an amazing film.
Beautiful. And we have a few like this. Lovely little films there that you'll go along to and you just come out and you'll feel, oh yes, this was, I'm so glad I spent that, hour and a half in there watching that. It just is gorgeous. Really, really beautiful film. The director, we won't have the director here, I'm afraid, but it is a lovely one. That's one that I, would say to people, try and go to see that.
That'd be brilliant.
Steve Shapiro, did you watch Steve Shapiro? I can't remember. Did you get a chance to see it? That's a great film. If this is, so we have an artisan film strand as well. Maura Smith is coming from the States for this. And Steve Shapiro was a great photographer over 60, he's 6 decades of taking photographs of moments that happened in American history. And, we've obviously got Andy Warhol here in some of the pictures that he's in, but this film is just before he passed away that they made this film. So it's really timely. We're talking about archiving things again, getting things on film and making sure we don't lose it. Maura went and she got this great film made with Steve in it. And it's lovely, very, where he talks about the movements that he saw happening at the time in America. And it's really lovely. If you get a chance and you're interested in photography and you're interested in art or you're interested in history, this is a great one to see. And we would highly recommend that. We have France in focus this year. So France is our country focus through the fair. And we have a delegation coming to the fair from France. And we have 5 French films. And one of them is The Ties That Bind Us. And we were really lucky to get this. This was at Venice. And I remember when I watched it first, it's a very sad story. It's very sad, actually. But there's hope at the end of it, where this dad is a very sad event happens. His dad is trying to raise his son. But the woman next door ends up being that kind of person who's there for him in this mad situation. And so this woman next door becomes, part of the family, literally by no fault of her own. It just happens. And it's really, really gorgeous. And if you love French film, and this is very French, you know the way the French do films are gorgeous. And Karine Tardieu, of course, is just wonderful. And so we would be recommending to people really try and come and see that as well. I mean, I love them all.
Yeah,
you know
I
me,
know,
Gary.
I know.
I'm just like, I want to actually see all of them again in a big cinema and come and watch them all at the Fleadh. But I can't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. Like, this podcast could be 4 hours long.
It
if we were
literally
to go in
could,
depth
I know.
into each one. So again, we're just trying to give people highlights, but go on to the galwayfilmfleadh.com website yourself as well.
Absolutely.
And it's broken down nicely into a day-by-day scenario for you. I'm a big fan of Siobhan from Danu Media.
Yeah.
And actually, I saw Sheena Lambert, the writer of Watch, doing a pitch for a project there earlier this year in the Radisson Red. But Siobhan at Danu Media, like their big production every year is Ross in a Room, but they're also heavily involved in loads of film and television production. They're just amazing, amazing people. And I'm so excited for them that they've a film in the Fleadh this year.
I know. Town Hall, it's fabulous. Big slot, bought sold out. I cannot even, I'm so sorry. I'm talking about films that potentially, but I do kind of recommend, I know Mikey who works the Town Hall for us, who's our kind of, person at the venue coordinator. He really tries to get everybody in, and some people don't turn up, season ticket holders, whatever. This will be very full though. We cannot guarantee people to get in, but it is, 1970s, a community, a body is found, and there's a big match happening that weekend, as we do in Ireland. Lots of stuff is based around big matches, and detective comes in from Dublin, of course, to check in and see what's happening. And it's a Ruan Magan, it's a director debut for Ruan. So I think that it will be, people really like this when they come to see it. And I think it'll have a great life after the Fleadh, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're not just here to show your film once and hope that it goes away somewhere else. And we want it to go somewhere else. People will go, not only obviously if you come here with a film, people get the opportunity to apply to go to the marketplace as well. They get to meet distributors, they get to meet funders, they get to meet people. It depends what they're looking for, and they'll sit across the table from someone. And we hope that, a streaming service will pick it up, or, a public service will, broadcaster will pick it up, or, an agent will pick it up, a distributor will pick it up, because it should have a life. We're here to say we're going to provide you with an exhibition of your film, which is great. The audience gets to see it, but it needs to travel now somewhere else. And of course, this will travel, without a shadow of a doubt. Irish film is the green flag is really, really big across the world. When you go to Berlin, they're always asking about Irish film and Irish language film. So I think this will do really, really well. Well, we know it's done really well. It's sold out.
Just speaking of Irish language as well, because I suppose we're only looking at things from an Irish perspective, but when I was over in Berlin, I met filmmakers, distributors, commissioners from all around, most of them mainland Europe. But the excitement and enthusiasm they have about the success of Irish language films has actually encouraged them to focus more on their own native language, or maybe their minority language.
Absolutely.
In their own country. And the success of Irish language films over the last number of years now seems to have actually be creating a knock-on effect for other European countries.
Absolutely. And we all know about, say, Danish films that would come here, or Danish TV that would come here, and that we love those, and, lots of stories that they would do really, really well. But Irish language film is really attractive to an international market, because they don't mind watching subtitles. They're used to watching subtitles. Yeah. So it's okay for them. And so they don't need to have the Irish language. They love to hear us. This is what when we're talking to people, I think that we have a number of, we've 11 Irish language films, as well as a Garriscan Strand of 8 Irish language films as well. So Irish language is on the up in terms of funders giving them money to make the films as well. And that's important, that there's a bit of cash there to make them and fund them and promote them.
I actually watch most movies now, even if it's in the English language, actually subtitled, because I find you're more tuned into the script rather than just being caught up with the visuals all the time. I
would watch the Gilmore Girls with subtitles on, on Netflix or whatever. I just, I'm watching The Bear at the moment on Disney, which I love, and I have the subtitles on for that. I don't know why, maybe it's my age, I think, Gary, but I certainly have it on all the time now. So subtitles, some people, I think maybe we've gone past worrying about subtitles. People saying, I have to sit in there and watch subtitles. You don't really notice them when they're there anymore. That's not it. I don't think it's a thing. And it opens up so many worlds of cinema to you then.
Maybe we're used to seeing videos on social media with captions now that we're
exactly
we've transitioned into being able to do subtitles in a film.
There you go. And this is a thing. So we do have people who email into us, and I know somebody's emailed into us actually recently about going to see cinema that have subtitles, that it's really useful for them, for hard of hearing, for stuff like that. And they wish that there were more films, particularly shorts, made with subtitles. And I understand that, but we have a big problem in that people don't get the funding to add to hard code, however they do it, subtitles into a short film. You have a tiny budget often of under €10,000, and to get it even edited and then, graded takes up every penny that you have. And I would love a lot more funders to take that into account potentially for, bursaries, whatever they are, to say, actually, it would be great if you could do a version with hard-coded subtitles on. And I've been discussing with Holly, the short film programmer now this year, about how many films have subtitles on them, that we can let people know about that, because we do obviously put it in for the features that they're there, because, it just adds another layer of accessibility, which I think is really, really important. But it's an expensive for the filmmaker. So it's a complicated one, really.
Well, you see, the difference is we're working with a client at the moment where expense isn't an issue for them. But what they have with their project is they're getting the closed captions so you can turn them on and off. They're also looking at the burnt on subtitles. They're getting ISL presenter on, and they're doing the audio description. Now, this is someone who has money, so it's not an issue. But the thing is, at least the steps are happening, and it will take time.
It will. That it's standard,
are moving forward,
which would be great. And we do our best, to try and make sure things are accessible as possible and highlight them. We'll say in here, Vitraval, for instance, is subtitled, and it's When Talk to Me is subtitled, whatever those, if you come along to them, that, you're not going to have a problem. You'll be able to read the subtitles on it. And also, even for post-show discussions, I insist that we use microphones for those. And some people say, that's a really small cinema, you don't need them. I'm like, well, the person up the back who cannot hear what's being said because they might be slightly hard of hearing or deaf or whatever it is, really appreciates you using a microphone, because you get a lot of people going, oh, I won't use this, I'll just shout. And I'm like, it doesn't, think about other people, and as standard, let's use them.
And I think tech will change as well, where it'll become easier at some stage for people to individualize the meeting of their needs with whatever equipment they have. Yeah. So the thing with Feathers is a big screen.
Big one. And
Wednesday.
We're really
I can't believe we're still on.
I know. Look at us. We're only on Wednesday, Gary. Sorry. And that's the last one. Oh, see, not even the last one. So Dylan Southern is obviously director-writer of this, but obviously the thing with Feathers is an adaptation of Max Porter's novel. So, people know that we've got Benedict Cumberbatch in the film. He's not coming, sadly, but we do have Dylan Southern coming, to give us an overview at the end and intro the film. So this is a devastating film. It's really devastating. It opens and the husband has lost his wife and the children. And I'm not giving anything away by saying that, and the children are struggling through. And there's this crow thing with feathers, literally, in the house. And it's giant, and it's this presence, and it's grief. That's what it is. It's symbolizing grief. And I came out, after watching that, I was just heartbroken. But, it's kind of uplifting towards the end, but it's beautifully shot, beautifully directed. Everything about it is stunning. If you can get into that, really do, because it is so worth it. And, it obviously world premiere at Sundance, and we're extremely lucky to have that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Will we, I was going to say, will we hop into Thursday, but we have to
music here. We have to talk about them. I know.
Yeah.
So we've David Keenan Fuckler Canvas, obviously, which is just David Keenan's great and absolutely brilliant, and Paddy Hayes, who you'd know for Fusca and all of that. Paddy's done a great job here, and so this will be lovely. David will be there. Great film, and it's going to be really nice. But we have to have a word about Once We Were Punks.
Absolutely,
because I love films like this. I grew up in the time of, I suppose, Satanta Records and all of that kind of stuff. People were going to London with their bands, and I remember they do it with Mirrors from Limerick. They're so great. And, off they went off to London. And this band is all of that. It was the Panic Merchants, and they call themselves the ex-punks of Bailborough, County Cavan, and we see the band coming back together in their garage,
So like a four-piece band.
Mature garage band,
who kind of thought they were the bee's knees, and it never took off for them. And
And
as they're adults, they come back to you. Do you?
Yes, I remember. But I couldn't have told you where and how. But, the name was always familiar. So when this came in, I was really interested. And to see them now, and they go and they play this concert in Whelan's, where you have to play in Whelan's. And so this went on sale and gone. tickets gone straight away.
But the night before Whelan's as well, they do a gig.
This is it,
your heart is breaking for them.
and it is the highs and lows and the highs and lows all over again. And, Frank is a brilliant director as well, and obviously Brian Willis is producer on here. And it's got a very particularly poignant moment at the end, actually, and which I won't give away. It's a beautiful film.
It reminded me though, and it's a loose connection, but when I was watching it, I was thinking of Stand By Me. Just the whole thing of just these friends as, when they're young, just how important friendship is.
And they'd all gone their separate ways.
They all went to separate ways.
And all coming back in together like family again, and it is really, really lovely. And it's sold out. We've put more tickets on sale, which have sold out again. And I think there's a few on sale now, but obviously, I don't think you'll be able to get them now. It's gone. Forget about it. It's beautiful though. And may you be lucky, the people who got tickets for it.
Yeah.
Does that take us to Thursday? Sorry, Garry. I talk for Ireland and these.
No. It's good because people will always be wondering. I know you get the synopsis in the programme, but again, just to kind of get insights from the programmers.
I know. I'll go faster through these, I think, but I will give them as much love as I can. Obviously, again, we'll start off early and every morning we have shorts in the Town Hall Theatre. So that's really, really important.
When do they start?
They start on Wednesday morning.
Oh,
and go
wow.
right through to Sunday. And, we have obviously fiction, documentary and animation. If they win at the Fleadh, they're in consideration for the Academy Awards. They, send their film in. Very, very important to us. We have juries watching the film. So always remember there's always shorts in the morning up to, I think, the 11:30 is the last screening, which finishes just before 12 o'clock sometimes. So make sure to get yourself in for those very beautiful ones in this year. Local ones, Irish language film, World Cinema, 3 World Cinema packages, which is great.
A few of the crew
expanding.
went to the screening of the shorts last year and they were blown away.
But they're great. And we get so many in, and it's really, really hard because we screen about 100 plus, but we get thousands in. And it's just almost impossible because it's great to get a debut of your short at the Fleadh because people come back then and then we're hosting their feature, a couple of years later. So it is great. And obviously being, Academy affiliated is important as well. So yes, that's the first thing. So every morning after obviously Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right through to Sunday, there are shorts. So, But again, try and get the tickets because I know several of those are already sold out. So I'd say now it'll be hard luck. Again, try and queue and get in to see some because, sometimes people don't turn up. They buy tickets and don't turn up.
That's because of the night before. It's called the Rowing Club.
That's because of the Rowing Club and the Gammon Bar and the crack and the everything else that goes on and the events and all of that around it. And they're still in the Labba and I get that early in the morning. But when you're up early in the morning in Pálás, we have some beauties for you. We have Cutting Through Rocks, which this was the winner of the Grand Jury Prize, obviously, in Sundance in the documentary category. Wow. This is beautiful. We have this amazing councilwoman and Sarah, and she's in this Iranian village, and what she is trying to do is advocate for the girls and women in her community at the risk of her exposing who she is as well and at the risk of her coming under pressure. But it is beautiful, like the scenery, everything. Please come and see this. It's really, really gorgeous. We also have then over in the other screen, and we are very lucky that Heidi is coming with us and Charlie is coming as well, Walk With Me, which is something very personal to me as well. It's about Charlie who gets he's diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and Heidi's his wife, obviously, also the director of the film, and they go through, and then family are involved in this as well. And as someone, my dad had Alzheimer's for 10 years and died of it last August. I understand this film. I understand the impact of a diagnosis. My dad was 68 when he was diagnosed, and, then he died 10, 11 years later, and the impact it has on the family. And we minded Dad at home. Equally, Heidi is here, and Charlie will be with us to tell his side of the story. And it's about living, with Alzheimer's, or living. People will tell you stories about living with dementia. This is really beautiful, very special documentary. We've a lot of documentaries this year, actually. So we would highly recommend that. And then we have, obviously, we're running into our Generation programme in Where the Wind Comes From. Gorgeous film. Road trip across Tunisia. Really, really beautiful. And again, we have films coming out of Sundance, films coming out of those. This was a world premiere at Sundance.
Wow.
And
did you get to Sundance?
I didn't. And I really want to go because it's the last year next year that it's in Utah, I think.
That's right, yeah.
So I would really love to go, Miriam. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, no, I'd love to get out there just while it's there because I don't know where it's going. There's a couple of different spaces. Sophia, the director of Thereafter, is coming in as well. So this is a beautiful film about a mother whose son dies And that happens very early on in the film, so I'm not giving away any endings, but it's an LGBTQI film, so throughout the film we find out that he has a secret life, that the mum thought she knew everything about him, but she didn't, and it's a journey of discovery for her as well, And into the afternoon then we have, I can't even describe how many film festivals Khartoum has been to, of the biggies. It's been everywhere, Sundance, Berlin, and we're really, really lucky to have it. Obviously, devastating documentary about, there's 4 Sudanese filmmakers in it, and they're literally thrown together. In fact, they had to stop filming because obviously the conflict. And then what you see in the film, and it's actually a very different way of doing it, they had to put up a green screen and then kind of start mapping out how things happened. And the people who were, the other people in it who you'll be introduced to, you will find the people, the citizens, acting out the parts of family members. So they'll say, okay, you are my husband now and you're going to pretend to be, and they act them out in front of the screen. So it's a very interesting way of telling their story. It's beautiful. It's well worth coming to see. Phil Cox is coming, and I think one of the directors is coming as well. So that'll be a really, really good one.
It's amazing to see as well that you're talking about, there are films and documentaries here in the programme which are getting their world premiere or their Irish premiere, but there's a collection of films and documentaries that have been premiered in the likes of Sundance, Berlinale, Venice, and they're here now in Galway.
And that's so the cool point of film festivals, isn't it? That we can bring you films that you don't have to travel like us to Berlin to see things, that we're going to bring them to you, and we're going to bring you the best of those. And, films that you may not have heard about and that a lot of people may not have heard about. And you go, well, I've never heard that name. But that you go and you go, oh God, that's so gorgeous. And then suddenly it'll pop up for awards later on in the year and you'll be going, yeah, of course it did, because it's so gorgeous, Of course it had that. And it's lovely that you get the opportunity to present that to the local audience, the local filmmaker, the local industry person, or somebody who wants to come in from Tuam or Carrow to see a film, that they know they're going to get something really special. It's great.
You'll always get something out of the screenings. 2:00 Thursday, Stolen Lives. I couldn't actually believe that
devastating
this was made, considering it focuses on Sonny Jacobs and Peter Pringle. And I actually saw when this documentary was submitted to the Fleadh for consideration at this year's festival, and it was only a couple of weeks later that Sonny sadly passed away in a house fire.
We couldn't believe it. When the news came in, I didn't even know there'd been a fire. I didn't really, I just got into work and somebody came in and said, Did you hear about Sonny? And I went, what are you talking about? And they said, Sonny Jacobs has passed away, and died with her, another person, her carer, was in the house as well. And I just thought, oh my God, I cannot believe this, after the life that she had. Obviously, okay, so Stolen Lives is about people who've been on death row in some way or another, and then, their case was exonerated. They were, they were free.
Well, people like 20, 30 years in prison for
a long time.
Yeah.
And Sonny watched her first husband die. He
That's
died from what,
a horrific,
a terrible, I think
death as
seven attempts they made
That's
to
right, like 13
execute
minutes
him, which
trying
is
to
just like
execute him,
dreadful. And Sonny obviously knew that he had died, and that was the fate for her as well.
And they have children.
They have children. And
so these children lost their father through state execution, and their mother in prison for decades.
And they lost, as you say, they lost their mother in prison. And so after she was let out of prison, she went from country to country talking about people who are on death row who have not committed any crimes. And she met Peter Pringle here. And Peter obviously had been as well. He had been accused of a crime that he didn't commit. And they fell in love. And, Peter only died, I think, a couple of years ago. And they set up a little centre and where people could come, and people who had obviously been on death row and who had been let out and who were able to come. And I suppose it's a huge trauma, isn't it? So she knew what it was like, Peter knew what it was like, and they were able to kind of help people through that. And Peter died, obviously, as I said, a few years ago, and she continued to fight and to help people. And it's beautifully shown. I remember when I watched it, like yourself now, brilliant direction by Mark, obviously, as well. And Dara, the producer, I've been in touch with them a bit, and it's just heartbreaking. In fact, we had to add in the words, the late Sonny Jacobs, into the programme, because we were at brochure print stage when that happened. I think that's near sold out, if not already sold out, because of course, why would you not want to come and see that? It is brilliant. It's beautiful.
What an amazing woman.
Yeah. At 3:30 on Thursday, there is a film that was in Berlin that is just gorgeous, and it's so beautiful. And we have the director coming, which we're really excited about, and it's called Eel. And it was a real hit. It's a Taiwan film, a real hit in Berlin. And it's really hard to explain films like this, you know. And I suppose people call it. I was talking to Molly in the office, our program assistant, the other day, and I was like, I'm trying to explain what this film is about. You know, it's a meditative film is probably a good way to describe it. A dreamlike, you know, kind of film, but it is beautifully shot and it's so gorgeous. And it's a man and a woman and their lives get intertwined. And it's just really, really gorgeous. And he will be here for post-show discussion, which we're really excited about. And that's a long way to come to Ireland.
From Taiwan.
For this film. So, but, you know, obviously a huge reception out in Berlin for that. And it's really, really good. And look, after this, Lost Silverfish of Berlin, just mentioning Berlin. Part of our architecture strand as well is another director, Rory Ryder's, this great film about these caravan structures called Silverfish. And he reckons that it's the answer to the housing crisis. You know, these were, I'd never seen them before. I didn't know what they were. And he talks about them. There was thousands of them in East Germany. And, you know,
after the war, is it?
Well, yeah. And they would, you know, it was a kind of a post-war housing solution. And these are, he gets archive footage and he even meets with the architect who designed them, which is really exciting. And it's a gorgeous film. Even if you're not into architecture, it's very much a film about, you know, found footage and history and all of that. It's really exciting. That's actually a really nice afternoon. Brilliant. And the Blue Trail, again, I love it. I've seen a few films around this. What do we do with people when they reach a certain age? Narrative type thing. And, should we put them all in a shuttle bus and throw them off to somewhere? And I'm going, my God, is that what we're going to do with our elder generations who have so much wisdom? But this film is wild because in this world where Teresa lives, the Blue Trail, and this won the Silver Bear in Berlin.
Oh, wow.
This world that she lives in, you know, at a certain age, 80 years old, you are packed off to a senior housing colony. In other words, you're never heard from again. And a little bus comes around and it picks you up and you travel away. And when you reach a certain age, your family get to decide what you can do in the run-up to you being taken away by the government. And she tries to go off on a holiday. She tries to go off on a flight and they ring her daughter and her daughter says, no, I don't want to go off on a flight. Or, you know, but she decides, she finds a way to go down the Amazon and she goes off on a boat and she meets loads of people and it's brilliant. And it's this great older person on screen. It's about, we know what's coming for her, potentially. You know, we know that if they catch her, she's going immediately off to this colony, wherever that is. And it's just brilliant. No surprise it won the Silver Bear. I think you would struggle to get tickets for that, but if you can, it's fabulous. Yeah,
wow.
Fabulous. We only want the earth. I have to talk about it.
It's like when you turn the page,
I
it's
know.
a gasp
I'm
each
just
time.
This film came very late to us, actually. I'm a huge fan of Alan Gilson and I love his work. He has done so many great films over the years. And Martin Mahan, obviously, producer on this as well. I learned my Irish history in school, seems like such a distant memory away. And when I started watching this film, James Connolly, you know, all of that trade union movement and the workers and the Workers' Party. And it's just really, really, I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that. And this film takes you back there, kind of links you into where we are now as well, you know, all around that. So it's a beautiful film. Christy Moore is in there. Stephen Ray is in there. You know, you've got Connolly's great-great-great-granddaughter is in there as well. You know, it is beautiful. If you have some time on Thursday afternoon at 4:30, Town Hall, beautiful big screening of that. It's a stunner, and you'll see this on TV coming up soon for sure as well. But get it on the big screen; it's gorgeous.
It reminded me of a documentary which is later. I'm not sure what day exactly. It's the one on Gerry Adams, but it was
Ballymurphy's story. Yeah, a Ballymurphy man. It reminds you of the news that we've forgotten about.
Exactly. And the back history. So sometimes the spotlight we'll say is only on, we're talking about Connolly, maybe just 1916, but like, let's bring it back to understand where we got to where we did.
Yeah.
And makes so much more sense then.
And where trade unions, you know, came from and just the story of a man that had such an important place in Irish history. And I'd forgotten so much about it, but a lot of the reasons we are where we are and, you know, how we are came through James Scott. It's great. And they go really in depth into that. And so definitely worth a watch. There's so many. I don't even know what to say to you. The Reckoning of Erin Morgan on Thursday night is gorgeous. This film came in, so Gabrielle Russell directed and wrote this, and it's an Ireland UK production because it's based in Ireland,
Brilliant.
Mainly filmed over here. But I think it was York that Gabrielle came out of her film school, and Lauren herself, Laura's the producer, came together. We have Alwyn Ferreira, whose name I always think I get wrong with second name, but Alwyn is amazing in this. She's so great. Such beautiful. I've always followed her theatre work and film work, obviously. So she's playing.
She holds your attention when she's on screen, yeah. 100%.
Oh, and then the young boy comes in, and there's this really, the youth of the generation, and it goes back in time a little bit, and we see her as an operative back in the day, but she's dying and she's not well, and so he's caring for her. It's a beautiful film, well worth coming to see. And for anybody it's a narrative about Ireland, about the Troubles, but also, about possible redemption maybe, or a hope of redemption, but also the young generation coming in as well, and maybe what are they fighting for. So that's really, really gorgeous. Followed by The Cowboy, which Emma is coming, and we're so excited to get this film because Emma Rosensky,
the writer-director.
Oh, she's made this beautiful film out of Colombia for this, again, back to the land, back to people, back to family. This horse comes into this woman's life. So it's not a cowboy, it's this woman, and I guess her relationship with this horse and discovering, this beautiful animal, finding out who she is and, kind of giving her a reason to live, I guess, really, really gorgeous film.
Brilliant.
We are really excited because we have Constance Zhang in the house. She is coming with Blue Sun Palace, and we always do a really lovely collaboration with the East Asia Film Festival in Ireland. So Marie-Pierre there, we love to discuss, different films with them. And so Constance is coming. She's coming to the Fleadh, and she's going up as well to Dublin to do a screening of Blue Sun Palace. We're really excited. This is her debut, but she's actually in Cannes at the moment, writing again on the second feature, and we're really excited to see that. But this is a lovely, lovely story, about a Taiwanese immigrant, and what happens, where they're living, how they're working. And then something happens, this tragedy happens, and it just veers everything off in a different direction. It's lovely. Constance will be here. She's speaking with people from the Stowe Story Labs. Going to have a lovely Q&A and have her screening that night with us, and she's going to do a post-show discussion there. So
brilliant.
Get a ticket for that. It's going to be really, really beautiful. And then we've Battersea, which is one of the independent US films that I was telling you about. And so we, as you said earlier, Gary, we go to festivals, we see films. We have agents and distributors who will want us to look at films, but we also have a submission portal that you can send your films to the Fleadh, whether they're short or whether they're features. And all festivals have this, and we use Film Freeway, and you can just send your film in and we will watch it. There's 3 or 4 people watching features. Your film will be watched at least once, if not twice, mostly twice. And certainly then 3 times if it's moving along to where we want it. And because, we always have a long list, a short list, and then I try and get everything in list. And same with the shorts. And Battersea came into us through Film Freeway. And I remember one of the screeners rang me up and said, "You've got to see this film. This is a great film." And it's family, it's, sister, brother, and the stories that come out, that's sitting in a chair outside a whitewashed house in America. You can just see the white picket fence, and it's mom's house, and they're clearing it out and they're talking about what happens next. And then the conflict that's there comes up. And it's talked about. Really beautiful, really lovely. If you like that independent type American cinema, that's it. That's the one to go and see.
That's
it's absolutely
great.
Brilliant. And of course, we've Rock Bottom, and there is a Scream. It's absolutely brilliant. It's an animation. And if you're into, Robert Wyatt's album Rock Bottom, obviously it's based on that. Really, really gorgeous film, and be lovely for people to see.
Sunflowers. You mentioned Sunflowers earlier because you said Patrick Bergin is in
this as well.
This is on
Sold
Thursday
out.
night.
This
All
is
right.
Dave Byrne's film. And yeah, this is a really lovely film. And we've got Anne McCrudden is in this. And Anne was in a film that came to us before as well. And this is, that Dave had directed. And it's kind of the next stage in his progression with Anne as an actress in his film. And yeah, Patrick is in it, is great. And this woman, there's been a death in the family. Her husband's died. And we just watched that relationship, what happens and what she finds out afterwards. Stories she didn't know about, the lies that were told. Really great story. And then the sunflowers in the end, and he's got a P in there for sunflowers. It's a real play on words, which is really, really
I didn't cap that actually.
Yeah.
Well spotted.
So, and then you finish off the night. We have, so we would have a genre film. We would have the What the Fleadh category is expect anything. Literally expect anything. And so we have the Morrigan in there, which is, a horror-esque film that's come to us out of Northern Ireland. supported by our Northern Irish Screen. Colm Eastwood is the director there, and brilliant cast in this as well. James Cosmo, Saffron Burns, it's unbelievable. Antonia Campbell Hughes,
Yeah.
So if you like your horror, and it starts as this lovely, Irish film, beautiful seas and that, and then it turns into a bloody rampage, as they call it themselves.
But it's great that you have films, at 10 o'clock at night
Yeah.
as well, for people who finish work and they might have to put the kids down and they can
Exactly.
get a babysitter in or whatever. But it gives people the opportunity to go and see stuff at the Fleadh.
Absolutely. And, you may not see this film again unless you're going to watch it on Bloody Disgusting or one of those, or a streaming platform of some kind. And Hope We Can Still Be Friends is sold out, which is another one. A man wakes up trapped in a box, and what happens to him, nobody knows until the end of the film. So that's great. Aisha Taylor directed that, and that's sold out. Well, you can't even get a ticket for that. And so we come into Friday, where we start off again. Promise I'll Be Fine is our generation film. We're really pleased to screen this. It's just come out of Karlovy. And we always have a number of Czech Republic films, Slovakia films, films that we get from the Czech Republic are always fantastic. And we have a great relationship with them here. So this is this boy discovering, that his mother is not who she says she is. He lives with his grandmother, and he has to decide who's he going to be loyal to. So that's a great film. I'm not sure even how many tickets are left of that. Our generation jury will be voting on that one as well. And we have this lovely film. So we have our artist on Film Strand. Michael, the director, is coming in for that from Poland, and it's just a love story. It's this immersive cinema, slow cinema, meditative, experimental story. Really gorgeous. And if you're interested in art in any way, this is a beautiful film to come and see.
I always love going to the Polish pavilion at the Berlinale Film Festival, because there's a great energy.
They do film
about
well.
them. Yeah.
They do film so well. And, we always get some really lovely films from them. It's really funny because, James and Dara from Biofuin Vod now, which is coming to us Buried Alive. This is nuts.
Absolutely.
This is bonkers.
I couldn't believe that this challenge existed.
Wait until you see what they're going to do at the Fleadh. They are bringing a coffin into the Fleadh, I think it's McSwiggan's, I can confirm that later.
Right, yeah.
They're bringing in a coffin, and you can get into it,
alive,
and you can get in, and they will lock you into it. Who wants to do that? Thank you very much. Not Maeve McGrath, I can tell you straight away. So basically the story about this is, it's a documentary about Mick Meaney, who was buried 6 foot under a pub in London in a coffin, and it was going to beat some world record. I mean, he could have died down there, but it's a strange, odd, hilariously emotional story as well, because he has this constant conflict with this other guy who had buried himself alive as well. So this goes on constantly. Who's the person who buried themselves alive the most? And if you had a funnel for air, was that enough? Or if you didn't have a funnel for air,
and the size of the coffin,
and what constituted a coffin. And so there's all of this goes on through it, but it's great. And again, look at the way they've marketed that film. They've this coffin coming. It's going to be a scream, and it's Irish language again. So we're really excited to have that here, and it's just brilliant. It's going to be if you want to put yourself into a coffin, you do have the opportunity. Either after the film or the night before, I believe it is. You'll be hearing about it in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll be tweeting about it. But it's a great story and another great
amazing.
Irish language.
So he
piece.
did like 60 days.
Yeah, something like that. Underground, he didn't come up. Know that he didn't, because they show you, they'd video cameras. And what's really interesting, there were moments when the media lost interest. The BBC stopped filming, or somebody stopped filming, come away. So I think it was the manager of the pub, if I'm right, was the guy, or the owner of the pub was the guy who had kind of instituted this idea, and he suddenly manufactured something. Can we hear him? Is he still all right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden they were all back down again. They'd march in bands when they got him up and everything, when they have released him. And
just to explain as well, there's a pipe going from above the ground down into a hole in the coffin,
and
for
he can
air
talk
and
up and
air
and all of that. But a big risk nonetheless, isn't it? To do that. But yes, you can
especially on the head,
I know. And to lie there all day. I need a family, if I remember correctly.
He did, so he was doing it for his family.
There was that.
Bring money home.
There you go. And he wanted to be, the person that did this, the best that did this. I think it's been beaten several times. I could be wrong now, in different countries, but it's certainly
and a heartbreaking story in terms of how it all ended up for him as well.
Yeah, and I think that emotional impact, you go through it going, this is insane, and then it has that punch at the end, and that you're watching it. Beautiful footage, great archive, and just a dose of hilarity along with what the team themselves are doing.
I actually, until you said it, I didn't realise that the documentary was in Irish
Yes,
because I was so
yeah.
engrossed. And
I
I see
know.
here it says subtitles, so it
Yeah.
obviously was
Yeah.
in Irish, but I was so into
In
it,
the
I
story,
didn't realise
of course,
that it was
exactly,
being spoken in
because
Irish.
we've got used to them. And Eric is Nicaid Nashoon. So this is a great film. Ronan McCluskey, and he's director, producers, and wrote this. And it's all about how Irish people kind of say interacted with the First Nations of North America. And it is this Trí Gaeilge Freisin, so this is an Irish language film as well. And it talks about, and it goes through the whole, the 18th, 19th century where people were marrying with the native people and then fighting against them. So it's that whole contradiction. It's really, really beautiful. We're really excited to be having the world premiere of that, actually. And Ronan just presents a really clear story with a back history and with great interviews, great footage, and Oscailga again, in Irish as well. It's a great one. Really do try and come along to the town hall for that. That's at 1:30 on Friday, which is a very traditional documentary slot for us.
And just to applaud the filmmakers as well, because I'm not going to mention the film, but before we started recording, I was telling you about a movie I came across last night on a streaming service and how I had to stop at half an hour in because I didn't understand what was going on. I had to go to the prequel to figure out. They assumed that everyone watched the prequel and knew what was happening. But how there is this explanation, because again, it's different generations. We're in a cosmopolitan country. It's people from all over, the four corners of the world as such. And that the filmmakers are kind of putting things in context for us.
Which is great. And they lay it out for us. And sometimes in a linear structure, sometimes not, but that you have a clarity afterwards going, oh, right, okay,
There isn't this assumption.
Yeah, and it's great. That's a really good film, and do come along if you can to that. Solitary is sold
Friday
out.
Friday at 2:30.
So I can't even get you into that.
Okay.
And again, Eamon he's one of our Bingham Ray nominees. And this came through Film Freeway. And I remember sitting down to watch it and I just went, and even after I'd watched and I got in touch with Eamon and said, we'd love it. We'd love to screen it. He managed to knock another 10 minutes off the film in the edit, and I remember saying, well, I didn't even notice it, I just really got so engrossed, and it's a rural Ireland film. It's, this man living in the house on his own and what he's dealing with. He's in a pub that in this rural village. They get attacked inside the pub and it has a massive impact on him. He becomes terrified in his own house. His daughter tries to get him up to Dublin, to live with him. He tries it for a while, doesn't like it and goes back home. We see his neighbour, how he deals with those. A real insight into rural Ireland, the rural Ireland I know very, very well. And, the mind your neighbours, but also, of course, the grave danger that sometimes people can be in. If you're living on your own in the middle of a farm out in the middle of nowhere, it can be attractive to somebody who wants to rob you potentially. And if you're on your own, and that fear that it brings inside you. Eamon has told a beautiful story here, really gorgeous. And I think that's going to do really well for him. Well, it's sold out, so it's doing very, very well for him.
It's great because we were doing a shoot yesterday on a 7th century graveyard that is in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the country. You wouldn't have a hope of finding it unless you had someone bring you to the actual site. And 3 different people at one stage while we were down filming came down to see what we were at. And I thought, it's great.
Checking in on you.
Check that there's people checking in all the time.
Or if somebody arrives around now and says, I'm looking for so-and-so, and that's it, what you want with them. Why do you want them? And
it's so
I love
important, that community.
Absolutely. And people look after each other, I have to give a big shout out to Sanatorium because Gar O'Rourke is a debut director here. And of course, this was at CPH Docs. And this is a beautiful, beautiful film. And, it's produced by Andrew Friedman, Ken Wardrop, who we all know, and Samantha Kaur. And it's a summer season at a sanatorium, which is like a spa or a health place, in Odessa, outside Odessa.
Okay.
And so it's obviously filmed in Ukraine. It's an Irish film, but you just see the people coming through and the visitors coming through. And it is just, I know for Heather, will always say it's one of her favourite films, who's our PR in that we have in the programme. A war is coming afterwards, because actually this was, if I remember correctly, this was beforehand or during, probably. I think it's in the middle of the war, if I remember correctly. But people are going there for health. They're going there to renew themselves. There's these beautiful moments of love again that are happening with people who are there, couples who are there. And, you know, there's this black mud that they go to cover themselves in, to heal themselves as a cure for various different ailments, or infertility, I think it was one of those. And it just, people keep going back to this sanatorium, and it's this lovely story. And fair dues to Gar now. He has made this really great film. And I think that's going to do really, really well for them.
Brilliant.
Really gorgeous sanatorium.
What would you say is the message for people to be taken away from it, you think, considering that the backdrop is a
To
war?
look after yourselves.
Okay.
It's all about wellness, isn't it? It's all about health, minding yourself. At the end of the day, we only have that as health, you know, and we're always surrounded by so much stress, I think, as well, you know, but also relationships and people, and, you know, the couples that are in there, you know, the love that they have, but also, you know, shouting at each other and all of that kind of thing. It's, I guess it's about honesty and definitely about health. Without it, we're nothing.
Yeah.
As we all know ourselves, you know. Mother of Snow Cranes, I have to say, I have to mention this because...
So we're into Friday evening.
We're into Friday evening, I know. I need to clip along here, I know. It's Iris, is this beautiful film, you know, about this 90-year-old woman, Ellen, and she's so many lives, and what she does in this is such a beautiful film. And, you know, she has been through a whole life, you know, but she lives so positively, you know, and she just, it's just, I can't even come along and see it, you know, the mother of cranes, as she's called in Iran. And we have the director coming, and I think along with the cinematographer, so there'll be a gorgeous post-show discussion with this. This is actually 5:15 on a Friday evening. It's a lovely slot. And if you're looking for something just a little unusual, Finnish film, we're always glad and really excited when we get films from Finland, Iceland, because they make such great films. Do come along and see this. It's really, really beautiful. And I have to throw a shade at Still He Waits, because this is a great film.
Yeah, I love this, the concept of this. Yeah.
It's fabulous. And it's, you know, it's this man's dream, which COVID comes in the middle of it, just to destroy all his dreams in a little way. But he manages to fight over this. He wants to build a whiskey distillery in Donegal, and he does it, you know. And
my idol.
Yeah, he starts off in Hong Kong, as I say, and he comes along, and he's, you know, his family are there amongst all of that. And the filmmaker, Paul McGuckian, has put it beautiful film together here. And, you know, you can see even in the pictures that are there, to see the structure going up, and it has a real, you know, Asian influence over it. But it's trials and tribulations along the way to get this built. And it's part of our architecture and film Strand, but it's gorgeous and well worth a look if anybody has a 6 o'clock on Friday evening, a nice little lull. It's just under the hour, so it's a lovely film length.
It should be shown not only to film students, but anyone studying business as well.
There you go. You keep thinking along the way, what's going to happen? Yeah. And just they fight through it and they make it work. And it's all about, again, it comes back to family, you know, and also the fact that, you know, this distillery in the middle of it, that they're going to make it work. They're absolutely going to work on this. And they are, because, you know, there's a little story to be told, and there'll be post-show discussion on that with Paul and the people who are there. Connolly, as far as I know, sold out, and it's beautiful, beautiful portrait. Like, you can't mention, you know, names of bands in Ireland, you know, Planksty, you know, the Bothy band Moving Hearts, without mentioning Donal Lunny. And this is such a gorgeous tribute to him. And of course, we all know Nuala O'Connor's just a superb director. And there's a lovely moment where himself and Christy Moore come together again in the film as well. So he talks about his life. He talks about his own creative process, and it's beautiful. If you can get a ticket, and really, if you can get a ticket, I would. It's a gorgeous film. Oh, yeah. Really, really lovely. We're into some of the big heavy hitters here. Christy won out in Berlin when we were all out there, and it won the Grand Prix of the Generation 14 Plus. So we've got a Bingham Rain here as well, you know, in Dermot Noyes. Dermot is actually nominated in this and in a short as well. This is a great film out of Cork.
Dermot's one of the actors in this.
He's one of the actors in it, and it's Brendan Canty's debut, and it's just heartbreaking in places. And it's about a brother who is trying to stop his own brother falling into, let's say, the wrong crowd or whatever you want to call it, but falling by the wayside, being dragged down, you know, and he tries really, really hard, and there is a lovely moment, you know, at the end. There's some great fun pieces in it. The cabin crew are in there, you know. They're fantastic and we're really excited they're coming along to the Fleadh as well.
Yeah, they're going to do a performance outside the town hall.
They're going to do some bits and we are really excited about that.
So if anyone doesn't know, just YouTube cabin crew spelled with K's.
They had the hit song, song.
The first 5 seconds, once you hear it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know
that song. It went everywhere. And
so they do some of the soundtrack in this.
They're in it and they're part of it, you know, part of the actors. And so it's great. I really, really loved this film, you know, and the fact that it's you know, set in Cork, all of that. I love all that about it. It's really great and, you know, regional cinema.
But it's so natural. It doesn't seem like a forced story in Cork, if that makes sense.
No, not at all.
It's so natural
and
how it comes across.
And it's great to see it. And, you know, these two brothers who really don't have a relationship at the beginning, you know, we see that actually they do, but they just don't know how to express it really. And it's a great, again, we're back to family again, Gary, you know, family keep coming up again and again.
And I think Brendan did a short a number of years ago called Christie with Danny Power.
There you go.
And obviously got the script and the funds together to turn into a feature.
And it's great, won at Berlin, you know, and it's in consideration for the Generation Jury as well in the Fleadh here now, which is brilliant for it. And speaking of family, adult children was one of the, you know, when we started watching films again, and like people think we just go away for the year and come back again in the following year. We're here all year round watching films, doing reports, but adult children came in and it is just, again, back to the independent American, you know, cinema. It's brilliant. It's this dysfunctional family and there are moments, I was trying to explain it to my son this morning and I was explaining this moment, he was going, please don't say those words ever again to me, Mom, I never want to hear those words coming out of your mouth again. And I was like, okay, sorry, okay. Because there's this really great moment in the film where the young girl in it, you know, has the family looking in a particular part of her body, trying to understand what's going on down there. And he was like, please don't say that again to me. But it's great. And it's really, really dark and funny. And it's got a great cast. And Rich Newey's the director there. And this will be sold out for sure. And, you know, if you can get a ticket for this, you will have just such a brilliant time at this because it, you know, there's an LGBTQI angle on this, but there's definitely a family thing and how we all have our things.
Yes.
You all look around and see this perfect family, but nobody has a perfect family, and adult children speaks to it, and they're all left together. These, you know, there's three older family, you know, brothers, sisters, and then there's this kind of the younger one that's there, and they're all looking at her going, oh yes, we have to deal with you. And it's lovely. It's great. And I love it. And I'm so excited that they're doing so well with this film, because when you see something that you say, oh, this is great, and it hits all those things that you want in a film festival film in particular, because film festival, you know, they have particular films that are very suited to a film festival, and then they go out onto the big screen, and it's just fabulous to see that journey. Yeah. So we're delighted to have that. They're coming. You know, there'll be a great post-show discussion. It'll be fabulous. So grab a ticket for that if you can.
Makes sense. That's Friday at 7:15.
Friday 7:15, and that's going to be really, really lovely. And then we have Trad. So as part of the weekend of Fleadh Out, we had Kisses. So Lance Daly's Kisses, which I saw many years ago when I was doing my master's in media studies. And I remember Irish film was a very important part of what we did in that course. And I remember watching Kisses at the time and I was going, look, this film's great. It's a little road trip. You know, these two young ones going around Dublin, and it's just beautiful. And then Trad came into us.
And at the time as well, very little Irish stuff was being made as well.
Well, also something that moves so much within the city, you know, Dublin city, and, you know, coming from the suburb to come into the city, and they're rambling around the city in the middle of the night, and, you know, what's going to happen to them. And it just, Lance is a great filmmaker. So when Trad arrived, which is another road movie type thing, you know, Os Gaeilge as well, Trí Gaeilge. This is fantastic.
This sounds
film.
brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's great. And, you know, Aidan Gillen is in there doing a massive turn, you know, which is really, really interesting. And Sarah Green plays the mom in this. And we have a Bingham Rain here in Megan. Megan's beautiful. She's obviously a fiddle player herself. She plays the fiddle, and Lance has brought together a really great team of musicians in this. So it's not just about the story of them going on the road. It's not about her taking her brother Mickey on the road and the parents don't know where they are. But it's about the music of this film, Trad, hence being the name, and the importance of the music and, you know, the mad adventure of going on the road with people who are, you know, exciting and grand beyond their years to her character. It's great. It's really, really lovely. And
will some of the cast be turning up?
Oh,
you know?
yes, they will be.
Oh,
and it's sold out. So, yeah, so it's a waiting for tickets.
I'd be a big fan of Sarah Green. screen. I think she's amazing.
She's wonderful. And it's just one moment we were talking about the film screen. So why does she hate her daughter so much at this? 'Cause she's always given out to her, all the time given out to her. And even at the end, when she comes looking for her when they've been on the road, and she's given out to her again. And so Sarah's really great in this. You'd know Sarah from Bad Sisters and many other great works beforehand. And when she was on that Alice in Wonderland in the Abbey, I don't know if you remember, she did a beautiful turn in many years ago now in the Abbey stage in Alice in Wonderland, and she sang a rendition. God, who did she sing it with? I can't remember. She sang a beautiful song, which is up on YouTube there somewhere if you find it, Sarah Green. She's got a great voice.
Okay.
Really beautiful voice. And Friday night as well, part of our France in Focus is Her Will Be Done, fresh from Cannes. This film was in Director's Fortnight in Cannes. Julie Kowalski is a great filmmaker, and I think this is her second film. I could be due to be corrected on that. It's her second film, great producers in there as well. And this is part of our, obviously what the fla, what is going on here type stuff, because this woman lives on this farm, working on this farm, but she has these moments, these kind of like mad, nightmarish moments, and which results in this kind of really kind of traumatic moment at the end of the film. Beautifully shot. Julie is a great director, and for something really, really interesting, and from a French point of view, this is a great film. Wow. Come along and see this. And then we've two music ones. So music kind of tends to go quite late night for us. On Friday night, it's Brother versus Brother, and then Boy George and Culture Club. So we've two biggies happening that night. Brother versus Brother is great. So they're two guys, Ari Gold and Ethan Gold. They're musicians and directors in their own right. Ari is a director, I know that, in his own right. And they're wandering around the streets of San Francisco looking for their dad, who they eventually find at home, by the way. But they're wandering around playing music, and actually they're going to be playing a session here in Galway. They're coming. Okay. And they were out at South by Southwest with this. It's great. And it was a really lovely gem for us to get a hold of. We were really excited to get this. And it's brilliant that they're coming, because when people can come, it's great. It adds another layer to the film screening. Yeah. And Boy George and Culture Club is over in the Town Hall Theatre. So Trevor Burney, who we would obviously, Trevor and Andrew Tully, and that we would kind of get a lot of their films and see a lot of their films. Kneecap in particular was up there. And this is great because this is directed by Alison Elwood, who would have directed that Cyndi Lauper film a couple of years ago as well. This came out of Tribeca as well. We're really, really happy to get this, and it's nuts. If you knew Culture Club back in the day, and I've forgotten, again, we're coming back to the history that we forget about. I forgot how controversial they would have been back then. I just remember, Karma, Karma,
I thought they were really PC.
And this film really shows how controversial he was. He was quite... Boy George was quite, adamant in interviews about how he didn't want to talk. But also there was that kind of side that was happening at the same time where the other band members were feeling a little bit annoyed that he was being pushed to the front always, which, it was always going to happen, I guess. But they were extremely talented in their own way, the other members of the band, John Moss and Roy Hay and Mikey Craig. But it's great. And Alison Elwood is brilliant at doing music documentaries. So
that's great, actually.
This is a great one for us to have. We're really, really, really happy to have this. We do a collaboration every year with Amy, and this is...
Where are we now? I'm lost.
So we're on to Saturday morning, folks. I know there's so much, Gary. Because really
when you're talking about some of I go into my own little daydream of, I definitely got to see that now. I'll enjoy that.
Saturday morning. So the work of Amy, they really work around screening experimental filmmakers, and we're really privileged to have the Glass Booth, Jenny Brady's Glass Booth, and her work, when I watched it first, I was going, wow, this is really interesting. She's looking into interpreters.
Sorry, explain to me, AEMI, what is Amy?
Amy are, they're an organisation in Ireland, and they're built around an association around experimental films in Ireland. And so they'll screen experimental work, support experimental work. They'll work with the Arts Council and that to make sure that experimental work is seen and given a platform. They're great. Great team of people there. And we've a lovely collaboration with them now last year and this year as well. Recording the Troubles last year was a great one. And this year it's we're going to screen Jenny Brady's Glass Booth, and it's all about interpreters and, they call it the invisible work of interpreting, and so you would see them in the European Union and all of those places are interpreting. Really, really lovely. But they're screening alongside it a film called Boomerang, this was made many years ago in the 70s, I believe. And this woman, Nancy Holt, she's speaking, and as she's speaking, there's a delay on her headphones, and the words are coming back out very, very slowly. And so this is experimental cinema, at its best. These are two really gorgeous films. If you can get along with the programme itself, it's about 45 minutes long, and Amy will do a little post-show discussion afterwards there as well, which is great. And so for those who are interested in experimental work and, or not, or fancy going along and having a look, it's fantastic and well worth going to. Queen Mom is a part of our French in Focus in Our Generation jury. Will be adjudicating on that really, really lovely film again. And we've another Irish language film, which is going to be on Saturday at 1:00. And for anybody who remembers Riverdance back in the day, Brendan de Gaully he was the front man there, like after Michael Flatley left, obviously. And we see him over the years develop his solo practice, but also his company practice as well. And so it's all about really his life as a dancer, but also his life, as a gay man in his 50s now, and his relationship. And we see, how he is influenced, by his own life and his relationship into his work. And it's stunning. Yeah, I did shed a tear on this, actually, I have to say, because I didn't know this. I didn't know a lot of this, and I know his work, but it is really beautifully shot, and Tregaeliga freshen as well, so Oscar again in Irish. So that's really, really lovely. And, I think if you're into dance, but if you're into arts, you'll really, really like that film.
And we have to give a shout out as well. There's an Italian film there, so,
L'ombra del gigante, I think that's how you might say it in Italian, and the Italian community can really diss me if I said it bad. Alberto's coming, and this is part of our architecture strand. So and this is for cinephiles as well as say anybody who's interested in architecture. So we all know Kodak and all that, but if you remember, there was, obviously the films that you would have in your 35mm, there's Ferrania was a brand as well. And not only did they do recording media, they also did X-rays and things like that. And it was Ferrania Colour, was the type of film that you get. And they had this huge factory in this little place in Italy, and the whole community worked in this factory. Okay. And so there's beautiful footage of it back in the day, people working there. But then with a slam in the 90s, just stopped operating. Because people turned to digital. It felt like it was overnight, but there was probably a lead into it. Nobody was putting film in their cameras anymore. Nobody needed to put even, X-rays and things like that were done in a different format. This is fascinating film. This is, I have to say, and I'm not allowed to have favourites, but this is one of my absolute favourites because architecture and film is very important to me, but also from a film point of view and archive, all of that. It's beauty. It's half one. Have a bite to eat and come along then and watch that. It's lovely, yeah. It's not long.
Driving through a town
minutes.
in Ireland recently, and I was shown one of my colleagues 2 factories that closed that were hopping in the 80s and that are closed, and there's weeds growing everywhere.
Yeah, I remember
and
Crufts
the effect
in
it had on the town.
Of course it does. It can completely destroy. Dell in Limerick when it closed down, that was a massive impact because so many people from the community are working there and they disappear. And so that is really, really impactful. It's beautiful. And I'm so excited that Alberto's going to be here as well. Girls and Boys is pretty much sold out as well, I have to say.
Okay, great.
This is Donncha Gilmore is his great film,
Isn't it great that there's films like this being made in Ireland?
Yeah.
Now?
And from an emerging filmmaker, and it's about this character Charlie, who's trans, and many of her friends are queer and all that, and involved in the arts, and they meet Jace, and there's a whole backwards and forwards going on here. That they're at a party and there's this whole relationship happening, but what we find out at the end is that they were old school friends and the recognition isn't there. It's gorgeous and it's really, really special for us. And we don't necessarily have an LGBTQI strand. We've lots of films through the Fleadh which are, LGBTQI. This is a very special one. Sold out, but there might be returns on that. But get in line and queue for that. But I think there'll be a lot of people interested in that. And then at a similar time, actually, that I was just looking, that's 3:00. So at the same time over in Pálás, we have a great film called Imran. And this is actually getting a lot of traction online and in the papers about this because it features Siobhan de Pere and Dermot Ling, who's played GAA. And they're kind of on this pilgrimage to reclaim the Irish language. And so it's really, really nice. This was Mika van Mechelen and Michael Holly direct this, and they have a great partnership as well. They would, have had an Arts Council Project Award grant for this. And it's, again, this is the land, place, where we fit into it. They tell stories in this. The children are free range, really, really. And, Mika and Michael's work is brilliant. They work a lot in experimental film and, you really feel that through it.
And actually as well, sorry, Maeve, just I see here as well, it's recipient of the Arts Council of Ireland Project Award.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who come to me during the year are looking for, they want to send something in. If they don't have success at Screen Ireland, they'll say, oh, we'll send it into the Arts Council. And it's like, no, it doesn't really work like that. It has to suit the Arts Council. They have the Project Award and they don't understand the Project Award. This is a great example to go and watch and see exactly what the Arts Council are looking for.
Exactly. And this is, it's experimental, non-fiction, and it, these type of films are exactly what the Arts Council will fund. And, sometimes a film like this may not get funding from Screen Ireland, as you said. So yes, do come and see this, because they don't always cross across each other. They're not, both funding organisations will have different films,
So then we're moving into 2:00 on Saturday in the Town Hall Theatre. And something I'm delighted to see in the Fleadh this year is a documentary featuring a really, really great guy, Manchán Mangan. Listen to the Land Speak. Listen to the Land Speak.
Listen to the Land Speak is beautiful. And Maurice O'Brien just makes beautiful films anyway. And Zlata, of course, as producer is wonderful. I've worked, I've seen their work so many times and it's absolutely gorgeous. And so for Listen to the Land Speak to land on our desk, we were so excited. Manchán Mangan is just a brilliant, brilliant writer and such an interesting artist. And back to the land, this goes over 4 seasons and this is actually going to go on television in the future. I do know that. And Manchán takes us, through the various different seasons. Really, really gorgeous. Throughout, though, we see Manchán talk about his own illness, which kind of gives a different perspective to the film, actually. And it's just a stunner. It's sold out, I'm afraid, Garry, and there really will be few returns on that. I think maybe worth trying to see if you can get one, but really, really humble and beautiful film, and in exactly the style you would expect from director Maurice O'Brien. And we'll have a lovely post-show discussion on with that as well.
We were talking about this briefly earlier on, Gerry Adams, a Ballymurphy man, and what I was saying, what I really, really appreciated with this documentary that screens at 4:00 on Saturday in the Town Hall Theatre is it doesn't have this big spotlight on the Troubles. What it does is it goes back to Northern Ireland in the 50s, what the community was like, the sort of jobs people had, the living conditions that they were dealing with, which very much brings us into understanding the role that Gerry Adams took then and the inspiration he got from the civil rights movement in the US in terms of his activities in Northern Ireland in the 60s.
A very, very important documentary, I think, from Trisha Ziff, and Mexican, production, obviously shot in Ireland, and
I was interested to see
Mexico on it. And I know that Trisha had spent a lot of time here, and of course the DOP is Seamus Garvey, who we all know Seamus Garvey's work. But one of the producers on this, sadly, was Ross MacDonald, and I'm sure you remember Ross passed away. So Ross was very involved in this film. This is a real tribute to him, and as they say in the brochure, Gerry gives his time to this film, and it is fascinating even watching back over it. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember the Troubles. And, when he goes back and it's the fact that it says Gerry Adams, a Ballymurphy man, we go back to Ballymurphy and what happened, over there. And it just is, it's a real insight into an extraordinary life, I think. And this is sold out. Just whether there'll be tickets, I don't know, but certainly it takes you through Gerry's life with archive footage and that, and to where we are today. And really important film. Delighted to have it. Trish will be there, and it's great, and a great tribute to Ross as well, which is important.
And again, it just focuses on this strive for peace,
absolutely,
for acceptance of all communities, and you're getting perspective from Gerry Adams, the times we're now looking back on the difficult times back then as well. It's a really, really good documentary.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of knocked us all out when we watched it, actually, and it's again remembering your history. Later that evening over in Pálás, we have this insane film called Toe, and you'll know the actors in it. You know, it's Rose Byrne, it's Octavia Spencer, you know, it's Elsie Fisher. It's a great story, a madcap story about this woman whose car, which she's living in, gets towed, and it takes her well over a year to get the car back. And Rose Byrne plays this woman brilliantly. Octavia Spencer is the woman that she meets at the centre that she ends up staying in. Just come out of Tribeca. Elsie Fisher is going to be at the Fleadh. We're really excited to have her there. And it's a great film. It's a great drama, but it's also about fighting for your rights and fighting for what you know is true. And they took her car and they shouldn't have taken it, you know, and it was impounded. And even the guy in the pound is kind of going, oh, I want to give it back to you, but I can't give it back to you. And she fights and fights and fights for this car, and she gets it. It's so unusual. When I saw this, I was like, what is going on here? And it's brilliant. A lovely up and down story, and certainly well worth going. A lovely post show will happen after that, I think, as well.
So Elsie Fisher, who plays the daughter in Toe, will be there for the post show discussion. Brilliant.
Which is great. And one of, I'm not allowed to say our favourites, sorry, one of my favourite films in the Fleadh is Winter in Sockjoe. I adored this film.
Yeah, I remember meeting you after seeing it.
I know.
You were just buzzing.
I just adored this film. And it's from a book, obviously. It's an adaptation. And this was world premiere at TIFF. And, you know, it's France in Focus. So it's part of our French in Focus program, and it's just, I don't even know how to explain how beautiful it is, because this girl is working in her village and this Frenchman arrives, and it's all intrigue and what's going on and what's going to happen, and we discover ultimately along the way that her dad was French, and so there's this whole beautiful thread that goes through it. It's stunning. Koya Kimura's coming, who's the director.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to have a lovely post-show discussion there. So if you want a beautiful afternoon of film watching, don't wait for a movie. Don't wait for it on one of those. Come and see it on the big screen in the Fleadh. You will not regret it. This film, I have hyped this more than I can hype a film. It's beautiful. Do come and see it. It's great.
So it reminds me, if you're ever at the Galway races and you meet a bookie or a jockey or a trainer and they have a tip for you, and you know by them, this is definitely one to throw a couple of euro on. When I met Maeve and she was talking about this a few weeks ago, I knew straight away this is definitely one that has to go on the list of screenings to see at the Galway Film Fleadh. So you've gotten the tip now.
There
Saturday, the 12th of July, 5:30 in the Pálás.
With the filmmaker. So how joyous to get, to be in there and to ask to say, why? How did you come to this? How did you adapt? Hard to adapt from a book as well, because you've already got something that's there, and he moves to the house, they move left and right, and you are, writing around that. So I'm really, really excited for an audience to experience this for the first time, and I've done it, but it's great. A similar time is 7:00, so that's going on at 5:30, but at 7:00 in Town Hall Theatre is a film I saw way, way, way back before Christmas. And Edwin Mullen gave us a call and said, we'd love you to see a film. We want you to go down to the cinema and watch it, which we did. Myself and Miriam went in and we watched a rough draft. Woof, woof, it was very rough. Horseshoe, directed by himself and Adam O'Keefe, and written by Adam O'Keefe, actually. And it is great.
Yeah. Again, family.
Family. Dad's dead and they're all fighting over bits and bobs, but Dad has let a caveat in the will about what's to happen. And will they or won't they? This is sold out. It's brilliant.
Oh, is
it? Of course it is.
Okay.
There's no surprises there that it's sold out. And
one of the hardest working men I met in Berlin back in February was Adam. Yeah. He was running from meeting to meeting.
And hasn't it paid off? It's really, it's great. And they, I know they had Screen Ireland funding along the way. So I'm delighted for them. This is a great film for them. And two Bingham Ray nominees as well. The two of them, Adam and Edwin, are nominated.
And just before we move on, Maeve, I just want to give a shout out as well to Caroline Bracken. She was absolutely brilliant. The cast is great, but there's just something magical for me about Caroline Bracken.
Caroline Bracken is brilliant. She was at the launch and she was in Oddity last year, if you remember. Brilliant, scary film. She played two characters in Oddity as well, so that was really, really fantastic. It was a tough one for her.
Well done to Adam and Edwin.
Absolutely. What a cast, Well, and also, don't forget, Layla Roddy. Every time I see Layla Roddy in something, and Layla is in this, brilliant, these flashbacks to Layla. I see Layla in films all the time, from big features to short films.
Layla is the dad.
Yeah, hardest working actor out there, absolutely brilliant, and a great stalwart of the, of the Irish actor of theatre, film, wonderful actor. So, you get the chance to see Layla doing his thing. There are 3 films on Saturday night. One is at 7:30, one is at 8, and one is at 9:45 that are brilliant. My Uncle Jen's, which is Norway-Romanian film, Omaha, and the rest will follow. And each of them are different in their own way. So My Uncle Jen's is nuts. You know, this man arrives at his nephew's house and in Oslo, and we subsequently discovered that he shouldn't be there. You know, he shouldn't be there at the house, and he is running, you know, from something, and he is, you know, he literally shouldn't be in the house. And the young fella feels under this familial thing. He must look after his uncle, you know, the nephew.
Yeah.
I can't just kick him out. He says to his flatmates, it's my uncle, you know. And there's this great moment, and it's very poignant. And, you know, we see so many kind of elements of how you would mind members of your family if they're far away from home. And it's beautiful. 2 incredible performances in there by the nephew and the uncle. Really, really gorgeous. That's a great film. And then Omaha is back to my US narrative films that are just superb. Omaha, oh God, I couldn't believe it. So it basically opens his dad pulling these children into the car and going on this drive with the dog, which just is devastating at the end of it. And this came out of Sundance, and it just is heartbroken. Cole Webley's coming, Preston Lee is coming, they're coming to the Fleadh. We're really excited to have them here because they get to tell us why, the how. How did they get to Sundance with this film? You know, well, we know because it's absolutely brilliant. And it's heartbreaking, actually. You'll be really sad after this. But
So it's the backdrop
brilliant.
of the economic crisis of 2008.
It is, and it's also, there is a bill, and I'm not going to tell you too much about it because you'll see it at the very end of the film. There's a bill, there's a kind of a thing that came out at the end that would, I say, help people in financial crisis, but it was an outlet for some people who felt that they had nowhere to go. And you'll see what happens at the end. It is heartbreaking. And I still remember, I still get shivers now thinking about it. And again, these films are incredible. These beautiful indie films, well worth the go. And the rest will follow. I was in Rotterdam. This came up on my,
And this screens directly after My Uncle Jen, so you can stay on for the double bill.
You can stay on and see this. This is a Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania co-production. But what I love about this is when you run a film festival and you're part of a film festival, anything to do with other film festivals or even fake fictional film festivals, you get excited about. So this film is set around a famous film director who doesn't exist. He's just in the film, and he's at this film festival that doesn't exist called the Cinegael Film Festival. But he's there and he's at the film festival, and I'm going, oh yeah, we do that, and I'm watching it. But it's about this girl. She's a chambermaid in the hotel. And she knows the director. She knows he's famous. So she has his number and she starts sending him WhatsApp messages, all these voice messages. He's looking for a leading lady in his next film. And he keeps listening to her, and he's auditioning women and he's not interested in any of them. And he's listening to her voice messages every night. And he doesn't know that she's the girl who's serving him breakfast or serving him tea.
Wow.
But there's this beautiful moment in the middle of the film where there's a little hatch where she puts a cup, of drinks or whatever out through. And he knows at this stage that it's her, and he puts his hand in to take this. She doesn't know that he knows that it's her. It's gorgeous. And it just kind of takes off from there. Then he makes this short film in the middle of the film festival. It's wild. It's great. I love it. It's long. It's 114 minutes long, but sure, who cares? Go in and enjoy it. You'll be out by midnight, just after midnight. Exactly. Highly recommended. This beauty now at 8 o'clock, Alex Vegan and Malcolm Willis, and their work goes before them, and they have a documentary about Eva Cassidy. And the moment I say this to people, they go, "Oh, Eva Cassidy, Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
I'm a big fan.
It's kind of the 1990s. We didn't have, people don't realize this, we didn't have the mobile phones. I say this to my son and that. Weren't going around with a video camera filming stuff. There's very little footage of Eva Cassidy, in her prime singing. There's that beautiful that we all know about her singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but there's very little footage of her in interview. And she worked in a garden centre. And so there's footage of her at the garden centre, which is really lovely. And the footage throughout the film is her mum and dad, and they're talking about her, how special she was. She was an artist as well. She used to put a little bubble in all of the art that she did. I cannot explain how beautiful this film is. And I chased this film since Berlin 2 years ago. I remember meeting Alex and Malcolm out there, and they're like, it'll be ready soon. And it is stunning. And if you're a fan of Eva Cassidy, which who isn't, this is heartfelt, and we all know what happened, that she passed away too soon. It's really, really beautiful. Her brother's coming. So
Oh,
he's going to
wow.
be there for the post-show discussion, which adds another layer of kind of devastation to it. But yeah, go and see that because
Wow.
that's going to be a big film now for Alex and Malcolm. And I'm really pleased, you know, that we have it for the Fleadh because
That's
it's
unreal.
beautiful and we can share it with you.
In the Pálás.
Yeah.
Unreal. That's well done, Maeve. That's fantastic.
From one music legend to another.
Yes.
Nobody in Ireland, you said the word BP Fallon, everybody knows exactly who you're talking about. And BP Fallon was a legend in his own, and he still is a legend in his own lunchtime here in Ireland. And, you know, as you know, he was behind the scenes, he was doing, you know, PR and all that thing. He was in front of the scenes and now he is singing. This is a great film. This is on afterwards actually in Plus. And I'm really pleased because I'd spoken to Neil Carver over the years about this film. And you know, it's finally ready and it's come to us and it's great. Alan Leonard is the director there. And, you know, if you're interested in rock music, if you're interested in music, you know, in general, and if you're interested in music history, this is a really, really, really lovely film. And there's loads and loads of people in it. Debbie Harry, Adam Clayton, Bob Dylan, you know, Bob Geldof rather, Donovan, Imelda May, Joe Elliott, they're all in it talking about
Well, he
BP.
helps define the music of a generation.
Absolutely. And he was, you know, a massive marketer and, you know, somebody who could market something really, really well. And it's about time somebody made a film about BP.
True.
Let's be honest. So I'm hoping BP will be along to that. It'll be great if he is. That'll be some post-show discussion,
That'd
I'd
be
say,
brilliant,
you know.
Yeah. And in fairness, Imelda May has come to the Fleadh many a time as well, so you never know.
In a film last year as well. So she's been supporting films and was in one last year. So yeah, that'll be a really great one for the audience. And then across in Town Hall at 9:00. This is a really interesting film. So last year in Kneecap, there was a great actress, Jessica Reynolds. She's our Bingham Ray nominee as well this year. And she was brilliant in Kneecap. She played the girlfriend, and there's like hilarious moments with her. She's in this as the lead.
Wow.
And it is The Wolf, the Fox and the Leopard. It's just, David Verbeek is going to come. Jessica's coming as well. And it's about this young woman, and she's raised by wolves, literally. And then they bring her back into society when they find her. But she has, in the meantime, is rescued by a couple on an oil rig, which is kind of a weird foster kind of couple thing going on there. And, you know, they're like parents, but not really parents. It's come out of Tribeca to us. Brilliant horror-esque type film. There's a lot of moments in it that are pretty, you know, there's a few gruesome moments in it, but a very, very interesting story told here. So that's the Irish premiere there, and it's going to be a big one in the Town Hall. Saturday night is always big in the Town Hall.
Absolutely.
So
I had to look there, the photo of Jessica Reynolds. In the bio photo, we'll say in the Bingham Ray nominees, because she looks completely different in The Wolf, the Fox and the Leopard. Like so different. I was like, no, I don't recognise her from Kneecap.
I know. And there's a savage moment at the end where you don't expect, and you're like, beautiful performances.
She was excellent in Kneecap.
Beautiful performances. Really, really great. And then we're into Sunday, and Sunday is our, you know, relax. And, you know, we have some lovely films in there. You know, we've got Castle Shear, Oscailagha, so that's the Irish language film, which really looks at brilliant kind of legends, as they call them, in the traveller music circle. Pickardon, Maggie Barry, Johnny Doran, you know, and some beautiful Sharon Ward, who, you know, I know Sharon's beautiful, came to the Gaff many times down in Limerick. Steo Wall, who's brilliant. Yeah. So great contributions there. And we have Aenthus is coming to us, another Irish language film, which was at DIF this year. And Damien McCann's a great director. We've had his work before. This is nuts. This is really nuts. It's literally about a robbery in a credit union. And credit unions are really big. For anybody listening to this internationally, credit unions are really big here in Ireland. We all get our car loans out of the credit union. And so these women decide to rob the credit union.
We get loans for holidays as well, but we tell them it's a car loan.
We tell them it's for a car, or the home improvement loan. That's the other one that they've always been around and they've been fantastic. So this is nuts, where they decide, but it is the structure of the film that I think is most going to interest people, because it doesn't start in a linear structure. It goes backwards, and it's really an interesting one to watch.
So it's a heist gone wrong.
It's a heist gone wrong. There you go. And at a similar time over in the Town Hall Theatre, so you were here with us, Salah Bakri was with us last year for The Teacher, which is just incredible film, and Farhan Abusili's film, and he is here this year. He's in the film. He's not actually going to be here at the Fleadh, unfortunately, but he's here in a film, All That's Left of You, which is a massive co-production, actually, various different countries, from Germany to Palestine to Greece to Saudi Arabia, and it was world premiere at Sundance this year, and it's about a Palestinian couple whose son is if caught up in the middle of, you know, the trouble in their country. And so it's really, really difficult, because there's this intergenerational trauma, obviously, but it's the mother trying to keep the son's life alive. All that's left of you, well, there's not much left, is really what goes behind it. And it's heartbreaking. It's very long, I have to warn you now. It's 145 minutes long. You do not feel a minute of it. You really, really don't. And, Shireen Davis is in the film as well, and as well as obviously directing it. And it broke my heart to watch this. I remember speaking, about this. It was at Sundance, obviously, but I spoke to the agent in Berlin about this after Berlin, and when they sent over the screen, there are no words to describe this film. And I know that any of those, any of the Palestinian films that we have previously screened, and there is trauma involved in watching those films, but they are learning as well. And this is a really interesting take on it, because we see the mother in years, when she's much older, still talking about the son and still trying to find some kind of hope in the sadness that has kind of come. I don't want to say too much about it, because it's like peeling off an onion the whole way through, these layers in this film. Really beautiful. And
because I know we're not video recording this episode, but I can see by you how it has affected you.
Obviously Palestine was our country of focus last year, and so we screened Gaza as part of the Fleadh Out programme. And, the film artists that are making films about Palestine, about what's happening, the films are heartfelt and just hard to watch, but absolutely necessary to watch. Yeah. You must watch them. Yeah. It's a reality that is happening every day. So that's a tough one, and there are some tickets left, but that's selling out on Sunday in Town Hall, which is absolutely brilliant.
And again, people may not want to be posting things on social media or going to parades or whatever, and that's their choice. But I always feel at least you can go and educate yourself.
Exactly.
So going to the screening of a film like All That's Left of You is important.
And Salah Bakri is such a tremendous actor. Just to watch, it's a masterclass in acting every time you're watching him on the screen. And for me, I just think he's up there with one of the most brilliant actors. So it's a joy to watch in its own way, but devastating as well. And then in Pálás, we've got this really, really special film. And we only found out yesterday that Brenda Blethyn is coming in for this film.
Oh, wow.
With Paul Andrew Williams, who's the director. It's Dragonfly, just come out of Tribeca. It's going to be screening at Carlavari before us. And it's elder care and how our older, generations are looked after is something we all should be, worried about and caring about and thinking about. And as me, I'm going into a life with my dad passed away last year, and he, we minded my dad for 10 years. And my mother was a matron, so it was a bit easier for us. And she, had skills that way. But, who's minding us or our families as we get older? And this is there's a real sense in here that we're not looking after people correctly. And so Colleen is a neighbour to Elsie, and an amazing performance by Andrea Risberg as well, who's been to the Fleadh before. I mean, incredible. And Brenda Blethyn. And so there's this moment where his character Colleen thinks that her neighbour's not being looked after well enough, and she's trying to look after her and mind her and make sure she's all right. And then there's this shocking turn of events in the middle of it, where the son comes back. And there's this whole change in the tone, because you can see that the son is a bit concerned about the relationship with the neighbour. How are we looking after our elderly people? Everybody should be thinking about it. Everybody should be focused. We're all getting old and nobody is going backwards. And so it's fantastic. And it's very UK, raw performances, come and see this. It's a really great film, and in the style of films that and I'm not saying obviously Paul, but like films like I would watch Ken Loach and people like this. This is social drama. Don't miss it. And Brenda's coming.
Yeah, but even
that's enough.
I'm just looking here to the side on the screen. The reviews for this film Dragonfly are extraordinary.
They are, and this will be awards when award season comes around. You want to have seen this, so you'll know what you're talking about. It's great. I wanted to say we have a return to the Fleadh for Limo Mochon with a film called Abode. 5 different stories connected. Fantastic cast. I mean, if I started naming all of them, I'd be murdered if I missed out people. But you've Marion O'Dwyer, Mary Murray, Stephen Jones, Rose Henderson, Mary McAvoy. It's got them all in it, and that's happening over in Pálás at 3:30 on Sunday. And then our closing film. So we always have a lovely closing film at the Fleadh. And last year it was one of our Palestinian films. I was really lucky to see The Life of Chuck. in the Savoy in Dublin, myself and 3 or 4 reviewers just watched and sat back and watched this film. And I came back I rang Miriam and I said, yeah, no, we're screening, we have to screen this and it has to be our closing film. Because it's so life-affirming in the middle of madness. You're thinking, what's going on here? I'm really not... And even when I went out afterwards, I was talking and I said, so yeah, this is what happened, right? And they were like, yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Because there's this whole moment, don't open the door. Because it's from a Stephen King novella, so you can be sure there's going to be things that you do not know what is happening through this film. Tom Hiddleston does this dance, which reminds you of that moment that he went on the talk show and did his dance.
Oh, yes.
And he does this beautiful dance with this passerby in the middle of the film, but the whole essence through it is that Chuck, the life of Chuck, and all these posters about Chuck, and you're going, who the hell is Chuck? Like, we haven't been introduced to Chuck. We haven't met Chuck. Who's Chuck? We're just meeting these other random people. And then it all makes sense. And then you go, oh, wow. Out of the madness of the mind of, Mike Flanagan and obviously, Stephen King. It's brilliant. And what a cast.
Excellent.
Tom Hiddleston and Karen Gillan, Mark Hamill, Jacob Tremblay. It's brilliant. And it's sold out. I'm so sorry. It's sold out. And it's, and we always have a nice bite to eat afterwards down to the rowing club, and maybe tickets might come up for that. I don't know, but it is such a beautiful closer for the flat. And what I love is that people have taken on board that I want to go and see this film before it opens in the cinemas.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And great for us. And, is that it, Garry?
Yeah, I don't think we can kind
Did
of
we actually
do
get to
any
the
deeper
end?
than that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot there, and we've 97 now, including the extra screening that we have added in there on Friday morning.
The Negotiator.
Trevor Burney's film, The Negotiator, has come to us about Jared Mitchell, and that's unmissable as well, by the way. 9:15 a.m. We have slotted it in because it's essential viewing, actually, from a historical perspective, obviously, and everybody really needs to try and get to that if they can. We just released tickets for that at the weekend. And I know there's a lot there, and I know there's a lot in this podcast, but you can zip through it probably if it's too much. But we just to give you an overview of everything, and don't forget, obviously, that the fair runs alongside.
Mm-hmm.
So we have hundreds and hundreds of meetings happening with filmmakers and distributors and funders and, people who are decision makers at the exact same time while films are happening up in the cinemas. What a joy, for the film community, for the audience locally, for the Galway, people who just want to see a film. It's great. And then for the industry makers who come into town. So we have that lovely, you're brushing shoulders with people who've made, films, directors and all that. You don't even know who they are, and they're down the bar beside you, We don't do red carpets. We arrive in our jeans and that, to screenings. And just because it's a comfortable festival, that's who we are, and we want everybody else to be comfortable. And we take photographs and we do all of that. But it's a very relaxed affair, which is nice.
Well, speaking of the fair, I was speaking to a well-established filmmaker about 2 weeks ago, and they rang me up and they said, are you going to be in Galway in July? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, I live in Galway. And they said, oh yeah, I'll be in Galway for the fair. And I thought, wow, like the big names are still... because
absolutely.
They know how important it is to be there.
The studios, the streamers, the main television and, film people, the decision makers, along with distributors, sales agents, and then people who are wanting to, I have a film that I want to do X, Y, Z. It's in post-production. It's in pre-production. It's not even an idea in my head just at the moment.
Yeah.
All facets of the industry are there. Yeah. It's brilliant.
It is brilliant. And again, just to remind people, Garth's Gone On, which is the short films, they kick off from Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the Town Hall Theatre. So go to the website, galwayfilmfleadh.com. You'll see everything that's going on. But just to flag the shorts, because they're a big deal for
they really are.
The actors, the writers, directors, producers. So even if you're seeing something in the afternoon, if you have time to go and see some of the shorts that are taking place in the morning.
They're only 90 minutes long, some of them, 80 to 90 minutes long. So, go up and they're packed. So you get to meet the filmmakers that are there. The filmmakers that made those films will be there. They'll be up on stage and introduce themselves very briefly. You can chat to them afterwards. This is where projects get made. People go down the rowing club, chat amongst themselves and say, why don't we go make this together?
Well, we literally go into the screenings. We do up a wish list of we want to work with this person, that person, whatever. It's a great opportunity to
really is. And short film is very important to me. I did my thesis on short film about the importance of the Irish short film at the Oscars. Because we've had so many out there, either shortlisted or winning, as we all know. And so the Irish short film is a very, very, very important part of not only the Fleadh, but also of the Irish film culture as well. So, you get to see the best at the Fleadh.
Yeah, absolutely. Maeve, thanks so much.
Gurv Mila Mahagut.
Fáilte
Tommy Dainta. We're done. We're cooked.
But you still have the week of the Fleadh ahead of you now.
Yes, and Q&As and all of that, and sneaking in to watch just, the last few minutes of films and running between Pálás and Town Hall. And it's hectic, but it's great. And we look forward to seeing everyone. And even when people, I'm waving at them across the street saying, I'll talk to you later. But later never happens because it's so busy and we've so many to get over the line. And we just look forward to welcoming not only all the audience that are going to come, but the filmmakers that are coming with their films, especially you debut filmmakers. We can't wait to see you because you're bringing your first film to the Fleadh. So yeah, great.
Brilliant. Thanks a million. Support the Galway Film Fleadh this year. Head over to the website galwayfilmfleadh.com for more info on all the screenings, and bear in mind things may shift and change because it's busy, it's hectic, and they're trying to facilitate everyone. So for the latest info, head to the website galwayfilmfleadh.com and get your bundle of tickets.